Hey, and welcome back to the Locked On Braves podcast. Got a special episode today. We're going to have a special guest with us, somebody from the Tomahawk Take staff that I'm excited to talk to and get his thoughts on the Atlanta Braves, the 2021 season, talk about the offseason as well, and what's coming up in 2022. So excited for this conversation with Jon Magel that we're going to have right after this. So let's get into it.
Hey, this is Stacey Gotsoulias,
DC Lundberg,
Ryan Finkelstein,
Taylor Blake Ward,
host of Locked On Yankees,
Locked On Mariners,
Locked On Mets,
Locked On Angels,
and you're listening to Locked On Braves.
Locked On Braves,
Locked On Braves,
part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastriani. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall. Check out my bio there to see everywhere I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves, over at TomahawkTake.com. Make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter as well at LockedOn_Braves. Make sure you send me in all your questions. Got some good questions coming in for Friday's mailbag episode. So excited for that. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. Right now, posting episodes 3 days a week, Monday through Friday, through the rest of the off season. All right, I said in my New Year's goal, my New Year's resolutions, that I wanted to have more guests on the people, bring others on here and pick their brains about the Braves. So we're going to do that today, and I'm excited to bring in Jon Magel, part of the Tomahawk Take staff. So let me go ahead and bring in Jon. Jon, thanks so much for joining the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So we're just basically going to go through and pick Jon's brain about the 2021 season, the postseason, and talk about the offseason as well. I'm sure there'll be a little Freddie Freeman conversation in there, and then we'll talk about the 2022 season. But I mean, let's start with 2021 and just what an exciting season it was. But give me your overall thoughts on the 2021 year. I mean, really from beginning to end, it seemed like this team was down and out. Then you got the trade deadline and then obviously the postseason run. But just give me your thought on the way the 2021 season transpired, how you saw it in your eyes.
I mean, it was truly insane just to see the progression. I mean, the greatest weakness during the regular season turned into the greatest strength during the postseason. I mean, how often do you see that? I mean, that's pretty rare. Your best player gets hurt, and then you end up going on like one of the greatest, ends of the season to close it out and win the NL East again. I mean, it's just kind of an epic turnaround in every facet. And so I think it's it was an interesting year. I think a lot of people in the middle of the summer were quite worried about the team and didn't even know if they were going to make it. Luckily, the division kind of helped us out and kept us in it. And then at the deadline, obviously, AA went and made those moves and got the outfielders that a lot of those guys are guys that once they get hot, they can get really hot and kind of carry you the rest of the way. And they all kind of bought in and just kind of carried the load and got us to the postseason. And then anything can happen. I mean, I think that's one of the most important things when it comes to baseball is just staying around the postseason, because you never know when it's your year. You never know when things break right or wrong. And so I think, you just keep trying to make it there. And, I mean, I don't think anyone would say this is the best Braves team we've seen. And, they walk away with a championship.
Yeah. All right. So go on record here, because I've gone on record on the podcast. I was all for selling at the trade deadline. I could not stand watching this team just blowing, leads, not being able to come back late. I was all for selling at the trade deadline. I admit it. Like you said, not the best Braves team we've probably ever seen. Obviously worked out in the end. Where were you at the trade deadline? Were you all for selling, standing pat, or did you want to see AA be aggressive?
I think I would have been fine either way. I would have understood. I think when it was Freddie Freeman's last year, I think selling was just simply not an option. I mean, how could you let him go out like that? And unless you were going to pull the big trigger and move him, which I think would have been an absolute eruption.
Right.
But no, I mean, for a while there, I was kind of on the Byron Buxton trade and trying to see if we could make a big swing and maybe really go get it. But I was happy with what it was. You didn't leverage the farm. You didn't do anything crazy. You kind of bought low and I mean, it paid off beautifully. I mean, I don't even think he thought it would turn out like this. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I was fine with it. I was pretty indifferent at the trade deadline, but it was certainly tough leading up. I could definitely see wanting to sell.
Yeah. No, it was, I mean, if you were going to do it, that was the way to do it. It definitely wasn't one of those years, like you said, where you would go all in and trade a Michael Harris or even a Pache or a Drew Waters or Langoliers. You weren't going to trade any of those guys with the team that you had to go all in. And that was kind of my point at the deadline. But to do it the way that Alex did, kind of get some guys who, have been good players and that you could put in to give us a major league outfield because we didn't have one at the time, and not give up much. Yeah, that was definitely the perfect way to do it there. Then, yeah, like you said, I don't even think he imagined them all just clicking like they did. I mean, it was really just amazing. But on the postseason as well, and I've done a podcast highlighting, my top 10 moments from the postseason. What are some moments from the postseason, all three rounds, some big moments that stick out to you that when, you look back on this postseason, that you'll always remember?
I mean, I think the big one and the one that obviously everyone says because you see the video, hopefully at least once a day of
Yeah.
of Soler just throwing a baseball over the fence. You know, I mean, I thought the pitching was honestly my biggest takeaway and probably the thing I'll remember, and especially the young guys that had to come up and just eat innings, and then on the back end, I think my favorite memory is honestly the Tyler Matzik strikeout when he comes off the mound
Yeah.
and he's just pumped up. Like, I mean, I think everyone just got pumped up, whether you were sitting in your living room or at the stadium. Like, it was just kind of an electric moment and something that I kind of think really like encapsulates the team as just this team that just believed, and he's one of those guys that just believed in himself and made that comeback. And, here we are.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that about the pitching too, because I think that kind of gets overlooked just how great not only the bullpen was, you talked about it, it was one of the biggest weaknesses, in the regular season, turned into one of the biggest strengths in the postseason, but also the starting pitching. I mean, especially before Charlie Morton went down, him and Max Fried, Ian Anderson. I know Fried had a couple of rough starts. Then you get it kind of a surprise outing from Drew Smiley in the NLCS, not as a starter, but as a reliever. And then another surprise outing from Kyle Wright in the World Season. I mean, that's the stuff you have to get in order to win a World Series. But I mean, the pitching was so good, against the Dodgers, one of the best offensive teams in baseball, against the Astros, the best offensive team in baseball. I think it does get overlooked sometimes because the home runs are so exciting, and the Braves did hit a ton of big home runs. But the pitching, I mean, it was just unbelievable in that postseason. Definitely one of the things for me there. And, I didn't go to any of the games, but, obviously doing this, I did go to one in the first round, but I know just the electricity there at the stadium outside of it. I know you live in Atlanta. I live in Birmingham, so you probably felt it even more than I did. But, I mean, just seeing with the fan interaction here, I mean, what did that mean for the city of Atlanta for the Braves to bring it home like this?
I mean, it's really big. I mean, the Braves have been a pretty big staple in Atlanta. I mean, the South is very big into baseball comparatively to, some of the other areas and some of the other teams, and they have a huge fan base. And I think, the excitement that they bring along, and I think the brand of baseball that they played was really resonated with the city. I think the electricity and the fun and the excitement that they had just really, I mean, it made it created an experience, really. Like, it created an energy and a feeling that you won't forget. I ended up going to the parade, and even the energy there, I mean, just swarms of
Mm.
people. I mean, I think it's the longest parade in the history because it started in downtown and then went all the way to the stadium. And so, I mean, and there's just people lining the entire way. I mean, I think that is kind of sums it up right there. I mean, people have been waiting for a championship in the city, and a Braves championship definitely means a lot.
Yeah, I like what you talk about with the experience that this team gave you. I mean, it had some interesting characters, with Jock Peterson, and then you got the Soler, the Rosario, the new guys they brought in, but it mixed well, with the Ozzy Albies. And I love the emotion from Dansby Swanson, and he talked about how much it means for him being a local guy there. So, and he talked about the emotion from Tyler Matzik hopping off the mound there. I mean, it just really was. It was an experience this team gave you. Like we said, probably not one of the best Braves teams we've even seen, but the way that they just came together, cliche to say, they played for each other, but they really did. I mean, it just seemed like, the team really gelled together, especially once they brought those guys in at the trade deadline. It just became a team that the city could really just get behind and love, and really just kind of brought everybody together. And like you said, gave the city that championship they've been looking for. All right, next we're going to turn the page, look at the offseason right now, get Jonathan's thoughts on Freddie Freeman's situation and what they want to do there. But it's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include a Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar makes it easier to stick to your resolution because it tastes so good you'll want to eat these, unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill. If you want to eat healthy, but it gets so boring, by like week 3, you might be thinking this just is not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate, and most Built Bars only contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein, compared to that candy bar, which will usually have around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So here's an idea for you as you go into the new year looking to get healthier. Go to all your secret stashes. You know where they are. Take that junk candy out of there and replace it with a Built Bar. So whenever you have that craving, you need a snack, you just grab one of those Built Bars. So many different flavors to choose from. Go to Built.com. Use our promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, that's LOCKED15 at Built.com to get 15% off your order. All right, Jonathan, so let's jump into the offseason right now, which is currently on hold with the lockout, which we won't go into here because we really don't know anything. Nothing has happened since the lockout went into place. But, you know, the Freddie Freeman situation, let's not beat around the bush here. Still unresolved as we go into the lockout. I'm surprised. I can't believe this wasn't done last offseason. Can't believe it wasn't done in spring training. Can't believe it wasn't done during the season or right after the season. So I'm still just shocked it hasn't happened yet. But where do you stand with this Freddie Freeman situation? Last we kind of heard is the Braves are stuck on 5 years. Freddie wants 6 years. I mean, how do you feel about it? Are you one of those who are like, just give Freddie whatever he wants? Are you more so like, don't go too far here? Or are you ready to explore other options like potentially Matt Olson?
I think first and foremost, it's definitely to try to retain Freddie. I think that's always been the case. And I think I was much like you. I kind of drank the Kool-Aid, I guess, and just kept thinking it was just inevitable. And then it just kept getting closer and closer. And now it's here. And I think I went on record and even said that, I mean, I really didn't start to worry, but once the lockout hit, it really sunk in. And I really started to look into the Olsen move and some of the other things that they could do. But I think the 6 years is fine. I think it's for the same reasons that a lot of people have talked about. I mean, first base isn't the most strenuous position. You have the DH in theory coming to the NL. I mean, if we ever get a CBA, and so I think, and especially for what he means to the city. I mean, just the energy. I think it would, and I think you would lose a lot of the momentum you gained from the championship. And I think momentum means dollars, and I think he's worth the money to fork up. I mean, I'm not saying we should go crazy here and put 6 years, $35 million per year on the table or something like that. But I mean, I would do a deal at 6 for 180 and be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am, and Fred Owens, who's obviously contributor at TomahawkTake.com as well, had said a while back that 6/160 should probably get it done. I'd go as high as 6/180, like you said. I think it can get done for less than that. I think it can get done for 6/165, 6/170, right around that $28 million a year mark. And I think that's fair. I think that's what Freddie deserves, what he would probably get. I think no matter what, I think he's going to get higher offers from other teams. I think when I keep saying win, because like you said, I think it's inevitable. But when he ends up signing with the Braves, I think there's going to be higher offers on the table that he's going to turn down. So I think that's a fair deal. Like you said, it doesn't really concern me with Freddie. I don't worry with that type of contract. I tweeted out earlier this week, what would Braves fans do? Would they rather sign Freddie Freeman for 6/165 or trade, Michael Harris and Kyle Muller or another, top pitching prospect for Matt Olson and then sign him for 8 years, 170, because he's a good bit younger than Freddie Freeman. I think some people are surprised at the package that I put up for that, but that's what it would take. I don't think Braves fans understand. Matt Olson is one of the best first basemen in all of baseball. If I'm the A's, there's no way I'd do that deal without getting Michael Harris or Shea Langoliers. So that's what it would take. I think some people think if Freddie signs elsewhere, they're just like, oh, we'll go get Matt Olson. It's not that easy. I mean, that's going to cost you pretty significant prospect haul there. But I mean, just what's your feeling on that? I mean, would you much rather? And I think you already kind of answered it. Just sign Freddie, or do you like the potential upside play in Olsen, who is younger, albeit I don't think is good as a hitter, but
Right.
he is younger, still a Gold Glover.
Yeah, I mean, I saw your tweet and I actually responded, or my original reaction was similar to, is that an overpay? And then I was like, no, I mean, if you're the A's, you're not doing this simply to move money. I mean, you're gonna restock the farm and reload and really reload with, I mean, what they've always done, prospects that are close to being ready and get them back to the majors as quick as possible to keep the gaps of losing to a minimum. And so I mean, I think the one thing that helps in the Olsen case is you're going to be buying out arbitration years, which can kind of help stretch money along and kind of make it make more sense for both sides. But even then, I mean, I just think Freddie Freeman allows for all the other guys to play in such a better manner. Like I think he frees up Ronald to do whatever Ronald wants. Like for a fact Freddie's either going to be a 2 or 3 and he's just going to hit. And so Ronald can be the electric in the one hole and do what he needs to do. And everyone can kind of just relax because Freddie's the guy. Freddie's the face. Freddie can take all the pressures of the city onto him and they can just sit back and play ball and do what they do best.
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't know that I've heard anybody really say it like that, but you're right. I mean, Freddie, he is still the face of that franchise. Good or bad, people look to him, and it does just free up everybody else to kind of do their thing. So I think that's a great point. Haven't really heard anybody else mention yet, but yeah, I mean, I'm on board. I tweeted it and I said, I would sign Freddie Freeman. What he means to the team, what he means to the franchise, and I don't worry about his bat, as he gets into his mid 30s. So that's still the deal I would make. But I can understand people out there who think Olsen could be, like I said, a potential upside play, being younger, still being a really good bat, Gold Glover. But that to me is the only other option. Like if you don't get
Right.
Freddie Freeman, I think you have to get Matt Olsen. There's nobody else out there that is potentially available that can do what Freddie Freeman can do for you. So to me, those are your only two options. And I think Freddie Freeman is obviously the better of that option.
I
So
also think
yeah.
that, you talk about regression with Freddie getting older. I think the probability that Matt Olson regresses is higher than Freddie Freeman. Like, so I mean, I think, when you look towards upside, it honestly might end up being Freddie. I mean, I know he's older, but you never know. Some guys age with grace, and I think he's one of them. I mean, the way his swing is built and the way he's built I think he's built to last.
Yeah, no, that's always kind of been my thought on it. I mean, and most everybody always thinks this is that Freddie's going to hit. Like I've said in the past, the only thing that may diminish is his power, which is just going to happen with age. But I think he'll always be a 280, 300 type hitter because of that swing, because he can go gap to gap. So yeah, good point there. I think Freddie, is still going to be a hitter. I don't know that I can say that about Matt Olson as he gets into his, early to mid 30s there. So moving on from first base, assuming one of those two will get done, I still believe it'll be Freddie Freeman. What are some other moves, some other decisions you'd like to see Alex Anthopoulos make to kind of finish off this off season? What are some holes, some areas of weakness for the Braves you'd like to see filled?
I mean, I think, and this is more under the radar, but I think the one thing the Braves need to do a bit more of, and it's something that Dodgers and some of the bigger clubs do, is towards the end, is start bringing these guys in on minor league contracts, especially in the reliever and starting pitching ranks. I mean, you can just see how it pays off. I mean, and so you kind of just got to throw a lot at the wall and hope it sticks. I mean, far too often you pay a reliever tons of money and he doesn't pan out. But you find these guys that come along I mean, look at Jesse Chavez this year. I mean, who would have expected that? But I mean, outside of that, I think the big thing is obviously the outfield. I mean, you have 3 slots to fill. Realistically, probably 4 total outfielders you're going to add. Judging by the videos, I'm still wondering if Ronald Acuna is going to come back a bit earlier than people had said. And I'm starting to feel like he might even open the season in Atlanta, although with the way the lockout is and stuff like that, I could see that really affecting him. But yeah, I'm curious to see who they'll bring back. I think they need to bring back one of the past outfielders just simply from an energy and from what they meant to the city, and they're part of the championship team. And I think one of them is bound to take a price cut. And I think you probably offer them all a similar amount of money and see who bites first.
Yeah, I keep seeing those Acuna videos of him taking batting practice, and it gets me so excited. But I got to temper my expectations because, like you said, I'm thinking, oh man, he'll be back for the beginning of the season, but may have to pump the brakes there a little bit. And it's difficult too because he's not in front of the Braves training staff because of the lockout. So they're gonna have to reevaluate him once the lockout ends and see where he is. So I don't know, but yeah, those videos get me pumped up every time I see them. You talked about the holes in the outfield. Right now we're looking at, Adam Duvall out there. He is under control for this year. Christian Pache maybe in center field, and Marcell Ozuna. I don't know if you were thinking with the holes there, if you were including Ozuna in that, but what are your thoughts on Ozuna? Because he's eligible right away. Do you think he plays for the Braves this year?
Do I think he plays? I have a weird feeling that I think he will. I have a weird feeling that they're okay with it, and the 20-game suspension was fine with them, and they're just going to roll him out there. And I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they're just going to eat that much money and try to move off of him, especially when this team is shown to be frugal, shown to try to be 1-year deals, not to try to extend anything. And they finally give out the long-term deal, and it bites them. I mean, I would rather not see him in a Braves jersey. I think a lot of fans would rather not see him in a Braves jersey, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to brass tacks of dollars and not being able to find a suitable replacement.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm starting to lean as well. When it first happened, I heard the news. I'm like, no way he's playing for the Braves again. But as we get closer to the season, and again, a good word you use there, frugal, the way the Braves are, there's no way they're just going to eat that money. And I just don't think you're going to get enough back in a trade, to cut your losses there. So as we get closer to the season, especially if there's a DH, because he would fit that role really well. Again, like you said, I'd rather not see him in a Braves uniform again. I know some people take offense to me saying that, but that's just how I feel on the matter. But I'm starting to get the sense that he is going to play for the Braves this year. So who knows? I'm not going to speak on it anymore because I know it's kind of a hot topic. A lot of people don't really agree with that idea, but I am beginning to think we're going to see Ozuna suit up for the Braves again in 2022. And that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to move on to the 2022 season. Before we do that, let me tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. As football season continues to march to the playoffs, BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website and sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season and now 2022 seasons. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Jonathan. So looking ahead to 2022, hopefully we get a 2022 season. I'll start there and ask you this: do you think the season gets delayed?
I originally didn't think so, but the fact that they haven't even sat down or have been sitting down, and I haven't seen of any plan to or of any date that's a hard, fast date. It really makes you wonder because the deadline already exists. Nothing changes by waiting more other than you kind of fake pressure each other into something that nobody wants. And so I don't know. Again, it's kind of like the Ozuna thing. You kind of aren't hearing anything about it, and so it just kind of gives you that eerie feeling that it's not going to happen. But I don't know. Money talks, and so I think when it gets down to brass tacks, maybe they'll come together. I could see a delay a couple of weeks, and really just because they eat into a couple of weeks of spring training, and they got to keep guys healthy for the year and things like that. But I don't think it'll be anything extended. I wouldn't see it going. I don't even think it would go out of April.
Yeah, I don't. It's hard for me to see them missing games in the regular season. I could see the spring training getting pushed back for sure, but all this fight in the CBA is about money. There's no way they're going to take money off the table by delaying the season in my mind. So I don't think it happens. I think the regular season starts on time. I think we probably will see spring training delayed, which is a bummer, but I'm a college baseball advocate as well. So I'm ready for the college baseball season, and I will watch that until Major League Baseball is ready. But yeah, I don't think there'll be a delay in the regular season. At least, is that a Georgia Bulldogs
That is.
shirt you got on there? Okay, so you're getting ready for the big game on Monday. What's your thoughts on the college football championship? Georgia got a better game plan this time around?
The problem is Bryce Young is just good. Like he's just so evasive, and I think
Yeah.
people think of him because he throws a lot and he doesn't have a lot of rushing yards, but his evasiveness is underrated. And I think, I mean, they just couldn't get to him, and he was able to shift the pocket. And I think, you would think it's going to be a better timeout, but Alabama is that good. I mean, this isn't a fluke. This isn't, something where they come to play every day. And so, it's I think you're seeing the two best teams play, and whoever wins is truly the best team. And so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, you have a lot of equal athletes, a lot of equal talent. And so, I don't know. I'm not willing to make any predictions because
okay.
It's a tough one.
If Georgia wins, are you cool with having a best of 3 and letting play in the game again, or is that it?
I think fans would cry to see Georgia and Alabama play one more time. But hey, if we want to go back to baseball rules, might as well to see who's truly the best.
Yeah, it should be a good game for sure. I'm an Auburn fan, so I hope the game gets canceled, and I hope neither team wins. But no, it should be an exciting game for sure. I am excited for that college football playoff game on Monday. But that'll do it for today's episode. Appreciate Jonathan so much for jumping on here. Again, you can follow him at Jon Magel on Twitter, and also follow his work over at tomahawktake.com. As always, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at @LockedOn_Braves. Follow me at ShortstopBall, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys.